Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really zeroing in on the future of accountancy, looking ahead to 2025, based on some pretty comprehensive global research from Accounting Podcast.
Mm-hmm. And we figure, you're listening because you want to stay informed, maybe for your career, maybe for business strategy, or perhaps you're just curious about where things are heading.
Exactly. And our mission here really is to pull out the most crucial insights from this research. We want to talk about the accountant's evolving role, the skills needed, basically cut through the noise.
Yeah, get to the core of it. It's all about understanding those future business trends and what competencies are actually going to be needed to handle them.
Okay, so the research breaks it down, right? What are the main areas it covers?
It really focuses on two key things. First, the major drivers, the big forces pushing change in the profession. And second, the specific future skills accountants are going to need.
Got it. Drivers and skills. Let's tackle those drivers first. The research points to regulation and governance as having the biggest impact.
That's right. Yeah, increased regulation, stronger governance, they came out on top as the biggest factor shaping things up to 2025. And we're not talking small changes here.
Right.
Think about things like the global efforts on base erosion and profit shifting, BEPS. Governments cracking down on multinationals shifting profits.
Ah, okay. That affects everyone, but tax specialists especially.
Definitely. They're right in the thick of it. But it touches everyone. And it links to this wider point about tax fairness becoming such a hot topic, politically and socially.
Yeah, you really see that in the headlines now, much more than before.
Absolutely. And it varies regionally, too. We're seeing more governments leaning on indirect taxes for revenue and consider integrated reporting.
Right.
Back in 2015, only South Africa really mandated it for listed companies, explaining strategy, governance, performance, outlook together.
Right, the holistic view.
Exactly. But now lots of other countries are planning to jump on board. It shows a real push for more transparency, more connectivity in reporting.
It feels like businesses are being asked to tell a much broader story. And what about regulating big tech? The FANGs, Uber, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the research touches on that too. The challenges governments face with job growth impacts, transfer pricing, it's all part of that complex regulatory picture. It's constantly evolving to try and keep pace with these global tech-driven businesses.
Which leads nicely into the second major driver, doesn't it? Digital technologies.
Oh, absolutely. Huge impact. You can't really talk about the future of any profession without talking digital, and accounting is, well, right at the forefront of that change.
So what does that look like specifically?
Well, it's transformative. We're talking smart software automating routine tasks, bookkeeping, even the financial close process. This also feeds into trends like outsourcing or, conversely, bringing some functions back in-house.
Okay.
But the key thing is all professional accountants, no matter their role, need to get their heads around new business models, different ways of funding, new payment systems, and, blockchain and distributed ledgers.
So it's not just using the tools, it's understanding the whole digital ecosystem they operate in.
Precisely. And things like expert analytics become crucial. For real-time reporting, predictive analysis, understanding how financial and non-financial performance connect. Plus, think about video, social media. They're playing a bigger role in collaboration, disclosure, how findings are presented, how companies engage with stakeholders. It's becoming much more visual, more dynamic.
Okay, so regulation, digital tech.
Yeah.
What's the third driver? The research mentions expanding expectations.
Yes, expanding expectations. This is a really critical point. As businesses get more complex, operate globally, the demands on accountants just keep growing.
In what way?
More comprehensive information needed, more forward-looking stuff, not just historical data, and more ad hoc reporting requests, often coming faster, from a wider range of people, internal and external stakeholders.
Right.
And those old lines, between finance and marketing or internal versus external reporting, financial versus non-financial info, they're getting really blurry.
So the idea of an accountant staying purely in their lane is kind of disappearing.
It really is. The expectation now is you need to look beyond the numbers. You need to collaborate across the business, work with external partners maybe, interpret data, explain it clearly, provide actual insights.
So contributing more strategically.
Exactly. Contributing to objectives, thinking strategically yourself, being part of the decision-making process. It's a much bigger role.
But even with all that expansion, the core principles still hold strong.
Oh, absolutely non-negotiable. The research really hammers this home. Professional judgment, integrity, independence, professional skepticism, these aren't going away. If anything, they become more important with this increased influence and complexity.
Okay, that makes sense. The fourth driver mentioned is globalization. It's been around a while. but still evolving.
Definitely still evolving, yeah. It presents opportunities, of course, but also significant challenges. Accountants need to be really adaptable.
How so?
Well, anticipating differences in business practices in different regions, understanding geographic nuances, how roles might differ internationally, keeping up with changing regulations across borders. It's a lot.
And as standards harmonize globally, that impacts teams too.
Big time. As accounting and business standards become more aligned globally, you'll see a much greater need for multinational, culturally diverse teams,
Okay.
which means skills like speaking multiple languages, cultural awareness, strong interpersonal skills for working in diverse teams. These become just as vital as the technical accounting skills when you're recruiting or putting teams together.
It's a truly global profession now. Okay, the research also looked beyond those immediate drivers, right? Thinking 3, 10 years out and even
Very
further.
Yes, it did. Looking at that medium term, say 3 to 10 years, 55% of respondents felt the development of intelligent automated accounting systems would have the biggest impact.
Reinforcing that digital transformation point again.
Exactly. And following that, you had greater harmonization of global standards and the adoption of cloud computing by businesses, both seen as high impact by about 42%.
And were people pretty certain about these things happening?
Yeah, interestingly, when asked about certainty of impact in that time frame, harmonization of standards actually topped the list at 81%. Cloud computing was right behind at 79%. And increasing female participation in the workforce was also seen as very certain at 76%.
That's quite high certainty. Did different groups see it differently?
There were some nuances, yeah. Older respondents, over 65, were a bit less certain about cloud computing's impact compared to younger ones. Treasurers were most convinced about the impact of changing generational expectations.
Okay.
Partners and firms felt strongest about female workforce participation continuing to rise. And geographically, people in Malaysia were particularly certain about pressure to protect local jobs.
Fascinating variation. So looking even further out, beyond 2025, what were the big perceived forces then?
Longer term, the biggest potential impacts were seen as changes in global governance and the rise of emerging powers. That was 52%. And close behind, at 50%, was changing societal expectations about what accountants actually do, what their role should be.
And the most certain long-term shifts.
The emergence of a cashless society really stood out there, 74% certainty. And the use of carbon taxes or similar market mechanisms for environmental sustainability was also seen as highly certain, around 72%.
So big societal shifts are expected to really shape the profession down the line. Any differences in certainty there too?
Yep. India showed the highest certainty about changing societal expectations impacting accountants, the UK the least. CEOs were most certain about a cashless society happening, financial controllers the least certain, and younger people, under 25, were generally more certain about the cashless society becoming a reality.
Gives us a lot to think about regarding the long game. Okay, let's pivot now to the second major part of the research, the future skills. It introduced this idea of professional quotients PQ. What's that all about?
Right, PQ. It's basically saying that success in the future isn't just about technical skill anymore, it's a blend. They break it down into 7 areas.
7. Okay.
Yeah, you've got your core technical skills and others, they call that TQ. Then intelligence, IQ, which we know. But also creative quotient, CQ, digital quotient, DQ, emotional intelligence, EQ, vision, VQ, and experience, XQ.
Wow. Okay. So TQ, IQ, CQ, DQ, EQ, VQ, XQ. That's comprehensive.
It is. It's a holistic view. And the important thing they stress is that, just like I2, you can actually develop all these other quotients.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. And the right mix isn't fixed. It'll depend on your specialism, your role, the company, the industry, even where you are geographically. And it'll keep evolving over time.
Makes sense. A tax specialist might need a different blend than someone in audit.
Exactly. But one thing is constant across the board.
Let me guess, ethics and integrity.
You got it. High ethical standards, independence, professional skepticism, those remain fundamental, the bedrock, no matter what your PQ mix looks like.
Okay, so we have this PQ framework. How does it play out in specific technical areas? The research looked at audit, reporting, financial management, strategy, tax, and governance risk ethics, right? Let's start with audit and assurance.
Sure. For audit, better IT knowledge is critical. Absolutely vital. And communication skills, too. The research actually found current skills gaps in both those areas.
Okay.
Auditors also need deeper sector knowledge, better business awareness, and it's not just doing the audit, it's about explaining it. Narrative skills, being able to tell the story behind the audit findings clearly.
Translating the technical for others. Got it. What about corporate reporting?
There, the big skill is communicating that holistic view, financial and non-financial performance together. But again, there's a skills gap identified in actually applying the right frameworks, like integrated reporting, and using technology effectively to pull that data together and present it. Financial maths is also becoming more important.
So moving beyond just the standard financial statements to a broader value story.
Okay.
Financial management.
Needs a more global business view. Stronger communication again, and better business partnering skills working alongside other departments. The gaps identified were around knowledge of emerging financial issues and advanced investment appraisal techniques. Oh, and Islamic finance is noted as growing in global importance, too.
Right. So needing that commercial acumen alongside the technical skills, strategic planning, and performance management.
Communication, again, paramount. And being able to see the bigger picture, look beyond the numbers strategically. Gaps were seen there, and also in applying digital tech effectively for performance management and understanding HR aspects, both day-to-day and strategic. The expectation is a more proactive leadership role from these professionals.
Guiding strategy, not just measuring it. Makes sense. How about tax? That's always complex.
Increasingly so. A global perspective is key now. Communicating complex tax issues to non-tax people is crucial. Business awareness, definitely. The research points to a need for niche technical specialisms, like international tax and better data analysis skills. And tax directors are seen as becoming more part of the overall risk management picture, not just compliance.
So tax becomes more strategic, more risk-focused. Okay, lastly, governance, risk, and ethics. GRE.
Yeah, GRE. Deep understanding of corporate governance, risk management, best practice, practical ethics, that's the core. But the skills gaps noted were around technology awareness and application, using tech for risk identification, mitigation, and also keeping up with international frameworks as they evolve.
So staying current with tech and global standards is vital there.
Absolutely crucial. Leveraging tech effectively for risk and understanding that constantly shifting global landscape of governance and ethics.
Wow. Okay, this has been incredibly thorough. So to sort of wrap things up, the key takeaway seems to be massive transformation in accountancy, driven by regulation, tech, globalization, and these expanding expectations.
Exactly. It's a confluence of forces.
Mhm.
And it means the old model of just being technically proficient isn't enough anymore. This professional quotient, this PQ idea, really captures that need for a much broader skill set.
Right. Technical skills and ethics are the base, but then you need that digital awareness, creativity, emotional intelligence, vision, the whole package.
That's the idea. Developing that balanced PQ is going to be critical for thriving in the future, whether you're strictly in accounting or in a related business role.
So understanding these trends, actively working on these different quotients, that's the path forward.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe for everyone listening. Thinking about your own situation, your own career path. Which of these professional quotients, the technical, the digital, creative, emotional, vision, experience, which one, or maybe which ones, do you feel you need to focus on developing most right now to really succeed in this changing world?
Definitely food for thought. A great question to end on as people navigate their own professional journeys.